good. However, I have some thoughts of my own on that subject, American women. You got a blackboard here I could show you.
Well, you know this is an apartment with everything that you need. We have a blackboard right here
You're
behind the painting.
You have a blackboard? I don't believe it. Where? How do I find it?
Just push the little button over there.
This here? I thought there was an outlet. Great Scott. Yes, it is complete. Is this your shopping list?
Yeah.
All right. All right, I'll show you what I mean. You know, sometimes, I don't want this to be a mass meeting, but you're all welcome. This is, I don't want a mass meeting because a man said 1969 is a year in which if a man tried to collect his thoughts, he'd be arrested for unlawful assembly. You remember when I talked about how to classify people politically? Remember that? A lot of you don't remember this, but we used to have two parties in this country and a lot of debate before everyone became happy and back in the bad old days. And I made up a chart so that people wouldn't have to call people left-wingers and right-wingers and alienate them. And it was based on psychometrics, calculus, and semantics. And the calculus was so that you could classify a guy when he came out of school, out of college, when he's a leftist, and you could correct as he drifted to the right until his death. So, all right, so the chart was something like this. If the chalk doesn't squeak, ruin the party. In other words, for people on the left here, that would be the Students for a Democratic Society. Then over here, you'd have the right. That would be parts of the Pentagon, the Central Intelligence Agency, the American Medical Association, and various groups. And then everybody says, well, where is everybody? Well, in other words, where are your parents? That's really what you care about. Your parents are in here. They're in the middle. And when they were here, they knew that if they stayed here, when they got out of school, they'd have to sign a loyalty oath and lose their jobs and all. So they could go over here, but that takes too much time, too, because you have to get a uniform and get a rifle and go to meetings. Right? Don't want to do that. They say, well, I'll be a liberal. I'll stay in here. Or as they call them in Germany, one of our sister nations to the north, you're very perceptive about Germany. Good. Yeah, you have an idea of their role in history. Social Democrats. So this is a fictitious position in the middle, but a lot of Americans cling to it. It's like putting twin beds together and sleeping, in the crack. And then, of course, for a finite gradation, we know that the Chinese are left of the Russians. They'd be in the left wing of the left wing. The Cubans would be here. The Russians would be here. In fact, the Russians are almost in the left wing of the middle now. They moved over. A lot of people, don't like the Russians because they feel there's no reason for them to sell out. Nobody even asked them. But what are you going to do? Okay, now we know. All right, so what does this have to do with American women? I can see it in your face. I'm coming to that. Now, you can classify people sexually, too, not just politically. I see the interest is arising. So we'll classify a girl. We don't have a lot of time here because a lot more merrymaking to get into tonight. So let's minimize this girl's neuroses and conflicts. We'll get a girl and we'll classify her. We'll put her in an affair and we'll take her out of the affair and we'll classify her. So it's not. I'm not doing it. It's her guilt. See, because of her parents. But we'll get to that. So we'll take a girl who is. Let's get a girl with minimum conflicts. Beautiful. Middle class Protestant in America. Pretty good. Father makes about $7,500 a year. So I know what you're thinking already. You're saying, well, she's middle class, Protestant, beautiful. What problems could she have? Probably none, but under our system, she's entitled to some. So, all right. So now this girl is in love with this guy. What do I mean by that? Because I want to be clinical tonight. They get along, and they get along very well, and they dig each other very much. And when he's around, she feels a vertical stability, in other words, emotionally. But when he's gone in a crisis, like he has to go to class or something, she feels something, because they're taking roll that week, she feels something akin to sensory deprivation. In other words, she's in love with him. So because of her parents, she's guilty. She can't take all this success. So she says, she drives home one day, she figures the best thing is not to see him, because she can't handle happiness. She's allergic to success. She says, it's important. She says, we all do. We've loved her at one time. I can't see you anymore, Tom. And he says, why not? She says, I don't want to talk about it now. He says, okay. She says, aren't you going to hit me? He says, no. She said, well, my father would have. He says, well, I'm not your father. So she feels betrayed. She thought he was like her father, but he wasn't married, which her father was, which has always been the problem with the two of them. So now we're going to classify her, now that she's out of the relationship with Tom. If she decides not to confuse love and marriage, decides to get married, get a contract, but don't be in love and be vulnerable, she's a social democrat. If marriage to a salesman or something, that would make her a right-wing social democrat. But if she's a kind of a nurse and just takes in guys who are weak, guys who are in trouble, latent homosexuality, or guys whose television shows have been canceled, make her a left-wing social democrat. On the other hand, if she's an executive secretary making about $155 a week, says, I can be primitive, you know, guys read magazines and follow their instincts. Why can't a woman? It's equality in America. I'll just see a guy if I dig him. Come on. So that would make her a left-winger because she's threatening these people who want to get a contract. You follow that? All right. So if you can accept this girl who doesn't ask you for anything, just says, come on, let's go to my place, then you're a left-winger too, sexually. But you have to accept it. You can't go back to your office and say, gee, I wonder why she never asks for anything. And, I wonder why she never goes out with a guy like me and never asks for anything. That means that you're a left-winger at her apartment, but back at your office, you're a right-wing social. Now, the last category would be a woman who decides that men don't exist. I'll be a librarian. They can't get in trouble like I did with Tom. She'd be over here. So she's working there, but she still looks good, see? And because of this, we've all decided, see, she still looks great. A lot of broken bones inside this great skin, right? So she's working at the library, and a guy sees her in the stacks one day. Says, can I drive you home? So she doesn't want to get involved, of course, but she figures, well, it's Monday, there's nothing on television, you know, maybe I can destroy this guy. Yeah, you can drive me home. So he drives her home, and she jumps out of the car before it stops rolling. It's an antiseptic relationship. And very asexual. She says, thanks a lot, it was great traffic, I really enjoyed it. And the guy says, can I see you tomorrow? She says, I don't know how I'll feel tomorrow. He says, I just came out of a meaningful relationship. And no one can share what I had with Tom, including Tom, if you were here earlier.